459 Appendix. The notes marked with an asterisk show that the works referred to have been examined by the author. Ein nu kunstlich Boech darin. CVND. XXXViage. Figuren Monster ad Stalen befonden, wie man na der Richter Art, Laufer Work, Spanch Stitch, mit der Nailen, Vort VP der Rahmen, VND VP der Leiden, Borden Worken Saal, Wilch Stalen all etzo samen verbessert sind, VND vil kunstlicher Gemacht, die Eiersten, and C. Seer Nutzlich allen Wapensticker, Frauen Einfuhren, VND Metger, der uns solch Kunstlichlich zu lehren. Die Gedruckt zu Colin VP, dem Domhof DWRCH Peter Quentel. Anno, MDXXXVJ. Small 8 vo, 22 ff, 42 plates. Title in Gothic letters. Beneath, woodcuts representing women at work. On the back of the leaf, a large escutcheon, the 3 crowns of Cologne in chief. Supporters, a lion and a griffin. Below, O Folix Colonia. 1527. The patterns consist of medieval and arabesque borders, alphabets, etc., some on white, others on black grounds. Some with counted stitches. Quentel refers to a previous edition. Brunnett and the Marquis data mention a copy, 1529, with the portrait of Charles V., and a second edition, 1532. Leer Novo et subtil touchant l'art et Seistant de Broderie Franchers, tapisseries CME alters mestiers Fate Aleskil, Soido Petit Mestier, Altilis Oser Toil Clear, Tresftal et Necessaire Touts, Gens Usens des Mestiers et Ars, 460 de Suld, ou semblables, o il y hasiet. XXXViage patrons de dewers ouvrages fach per art et proportion. En primer Aquilog, Cologne, par Matripier Quinti de more denper legli de Roman 3 rois. The same cut as the preceding, with the arms of Cologne, which seems to have been engraved for a great Bible printed by Quentel in 1527 and is no guide for the date. Figs. 164-165. Illustration, Fig, 164. Meter P. Quinti, Cologne, 1527. Illustration, Fig, 165. Meter P. Quinti, Cologne, 1527. Opera Nuovici insegna a la Diania Cussier. Arachmer, e a disegnar a Siascuno? Et la dita opera sera di grand utilita ad ogni artista. Per esser il disegno ad ogniuno necessario, la qual iadit alata esempio di racmi to 23 ff, 36 plates. Title in red Gothic letters. Beneath 4 woodcuts representing women at work. 2 pages of dedication to the ladies by Giovanni Antonio Taglianti, in which he says his book is for the instruction of each valorosa donna and tut alter donzel, con glai huamini inseem and fancially, liquali si del Tirano do imperar a disegnar, cussier, and rackhammer. 461 then follows a most miscellaneous collection of what he terms, in his dedication, Fregi, Frissi, Tondi Meravigliosi, Grappi Maresi et Arabski, Uccelli Valenti, Fiori, Letter Antique, Maescali and La Francesch, etc. 3 pages very much like the pictures in a child's spelling book, rounds Tondi for cushions, and 2 pages representing hearts and scrolls. Hearts transfixed, one with an arrow, another with a sword, a third torn open by 2 hands, motto on the scroll. La virtu, al uomo sempre li restani mort nol po privar di questa. On the other page hearts transfixed by 2 arrows, with 2 eyes above, acai piangit accompagnit il cor, inclita virtus. Then follow 6 pages of instructions, from which we learn the various stitches in which these wonderful patterns may be executed. Damaschino, Ralvato e Filo, Soprapunto, Ingesat, Ciprioto, Crosato, Puglis, Scrido incrosato, in air, Fato sulla rate, Amagliata, Disfilato, and di Racamo. To be sewn in various colored silks, gold and silver thread, or black silk, for Caleri di Huomo and di Donna, Camisole con Pettorali, Frissi di Contorni di Leti, Entamel di Cassini. Frissi di Alcon Boccassino and Scufi, etc. on the last page, Stampa in Vinigia per Giovan Antonio Tagliant and I Fratelli de Sabio, 1530. Brunnett gives an edition dated 1528. La Fleur de la Science de Portraiture et Patrons de Broderie, Facin Arabic et Italique, cum privilegio regis. Frontispiece, title in Gothic letters, a large figure of Sol, with a yoke, his feet chained, a ball, maybe the earth at the end of the chain. In one hand he holds a scroll with the legend Exodus Acta Probat. Privilege of Francois par la Grâce de Roi de France, to Francisque Pellegrin de Florence, to publish Un livre de feuillages and trellets et ouvrages moresques et damasquins, for 6 years. D'année à Bordeaux le Roman 17. Jour de Juing. Elan de Grace 1005, sens trt, et de nostra Rignella me. See present liver à est imprima Paris par Jacques Nivard. Le Roman 4, Jour d'Est, Land de Grace 1005, CS XXX. Pour noble et chemi Messier Francisque Pellegrin de Florence. On les vend à Paris en la Grande Rue Saint-Anthony devant les Tournelles. Au loges de Monseigneur le Comte de Carpes. Par Messier et Francisque Pellegrin de Florence. Small fall, 62 ff. 58 plates consisting of graceful Moresque patterns, no animals or natural objects represented. At plate 33, surrounded by arabesques, is an N, the initial of the printer. Esemplario di lavori. Dove le tenor fancial and alter don nobel patrano facilment, imperer il modo and ordine di lavorer, cusier, racamer and finalment far tut quel gentiles and lodvulli oper, le quali po faire una donna virtuosa con laco in 462 mano, con lisiu compass and monsieur. Vinesia, per Niccolo d'Aristotle detto Zipino MDX6. 8 vo. 46 plates. The Cavry merely quotes another edition, date 1530, in the possession of the avocado Francesco Pianisani, and another he believes of 1529. Convivio del bel don, dove conli nuovi racami, and si in fine, finis il convivio del, and si nuovamente stampato in viniga, per Niccolo d'Aristotle, detto Zipino del mese d'agosto. MDXXC. In 42 ff. 24. Gli universali de I belli racami anticae, et moderni, ni quali un pellegrino ingegno, si di uomo cum di donna patra in questa nostra, ida con elego virtuosamente exerciter si. Non ancora de alcuni dati altri in lus. Frontispiece, 2 ladies at work, dedication to gli virtuosi Giovanni et gentilissime fancial. At the end, styles himself Niccolo d'Aristotle detto Zipino. March 1537. In 42 ff. 25 printed on both sides. A new Formbichlin bin Icknant Allen Kunstler nach unbekannt sie mich Lieberkoffer, recht in feinstrefflich in desser Kump stanchen Geschnierlit, Geboglit auf glatt und Gold, Auction von Premenstat, Easgib dir ein Prem unbein kledit. Wenn mans recht auseinander schneit, das kannst schneiden aus der Ellen von Samet, Seiden, wie mans wohl. Ich mag brocht wern in a lem lant. Wenn man mich erst mit verstand. At the end, Gedruckt in der Kaiserlichen Rietstadt, Augsburg, durch Johann Schartzenberger, Formschnitter, 1534. Small Abel, 20 ff. 38 plates. Frontispiece. Title in black Gothic letters, at the foot 3 subjects of women at work, printed in red. The patterns, consisting of graceful arabesque borders, are also in red, figs. 166, 167, 168. Illustration, Fig, 166. Pattern book Augsburg, 1534. Illustration, Fig, 167. Pattern book Augsburg, 1534. To face page 462. 463 illustration, Fig, 168. Augsburg, 1534. A new treatise. As see cernage the excellency of the needlework Spanish stitch and weavage in the frame, very necessary to althame which desire the perfect knowledge of seamstry, quiltinge and brodery work, coatinage and cxxx viage figures or tables, so plainly made and set tout in portraiture, the which is difficile. And Natalie for crafts but also for gentlewomen, and an ioj damosels that therein may obtain greater caninge delight and pleasure. These books be to sell at Antwerp in the Golden Unicorn, at Will Vorstermans. Geprint tot Antwerpen in Dijkhammerstraat in Den Gulden Eenhoorn bij Willem Vorsterman. Vo, 24 ff. 46 plates. Title in Gothic letters, with figures. P1, Dorso. Woodcut of a woman at work and a man sitting by her side. Patterns medieval, small black squares arabesques, etc. Vorsterman worked from 1514 to 1542. Giudinto novo di punti tagliati et grapposi per exercidio et ornamento del don. Ven, 1542, in 42. 464 11. Exemplar chi insegna alle donal modo di chiusir. Venetia, 1543. Il specchio di pensier sic, del bel don dov si vide vari sorti di punti, cio, punti tagliati, grapposi and si Venetia, 1544. In fortu. Ornamento del bel donet virtuos, oper in cui troverai vari sorti di frissi, con li quali si potrà ornar ciascun donna. Ven, 1544. Le livre de moresques, tres utilet nécessaire à tous orfèvres tailors, graveurs, painters, tapissiers, broders, ligniers et femmes qui besognent de l'égal. Paris. Gourmont, 1546. Fig, en boys. La fleur des patrons de lingerie, adieu en droits, à point croix, à point couche, et à point pic, en fil d'or, fil d'argent and fil de soie, au alter en quelque ouvrage quasi soit, en comprenant l'art de broderie et tessuterie. Imprimes à Lyon en la maison de Pierre de Sainte Lucie, dict le prince, prise noster dame de confort. At the end. Imprimé à Lyon par Pierre de Sainte Lucie, dict le prince. 1549, Vaux, 12 ff, 21 plates. Frontispiece, title in Gothic letters with woodcuts representing people at work. Below, 2 women sitting at frames, above 2 others and between a man with a frame in his hand. On each side a shield, one with crowned heart, on the other a lion, 3 fleurs de lis in chief, patterns medieval. At the end, the device of the printer, a mountain on the top of which is a city against which a youth is placing his hand. Motto, sparrow. At the foot of the mountain, a cavern in which is seated a fury. This device is engraved number 616 in Sylvester, who gives to 1555 as the date of Pierre de Sainte Lucie. 465-16. Livre nouveau, dict patrons de lingerie, c'est de savoir adieu en droits, à point croix, point couche and point pic, en fil d'or, d'argent, de soie and otters, en quelque ouvrage quasi soit. Comprenant l'art de broderie and tissotterie. Imprimes à Lyon chez Pierre de Sainte Lucie, prise noster dame de confort, Vaux 24 ff, 44 plates. Frontispiece, title in Gothic letters, the same shields as the preceding, 2 women at work, patterns medieval. At the end, the same device. The copy of the arsenal is a different impression. Instead of imprimes, and see, we have on les vend, etc. Patrons de diverses manières inventes tresubtalment, Dysons a broders et lingières, et a suci lescals vraiment violent par bon entendement user d'antique, et robosque, fries et moderne proprement, en comprenant aussi moresque. A tous massons, menuisiers and verriers, ferrant profit ces portraits largement aux orfures. Et gentils tapissiers et iuns gens aussi semblablement oublier point ni viuli oscunement si trepentiers, and less tire d'images et tissotiers lescals parlement par ces patrons acquérant heritages. Imprimes à Lyon par Pierre de Sainte Lucie, dict le prince, prise noster dame de confort, Vaux 16 ff, 31 plates. Title in Gothic letters. Patterns medieval. The copy at the arsenal is a later impression. On les vend à Lyon par Pierre de Sainte Lucie en la maison du defunct prince prise, etc. It has only 12 ff and 23 plates. Senseunt les patrons de Messier Anton Boleyn, recluse de Saint Martial de Lyon. Item plusieurs autres bolks patrons nouveaux, qui out est inventes par Jeben Mayal Carme de Lyon. On les vend à Lyon, chez le prince. 466 small 8 Vaux, 6 ff, 85 plates. Copy at the arsenal has 12 ff. The same device of the printer in the frontispiece and at the end of the book. Finis. One of the patterns represents Saint Margaret holding the cross to a dragon, but in these 4 books the designs are copied from each other, and are many of them repetitions of Quinty. Si liver est placent, et udel a gens, qui besognent de legal, pour comprender legerment, de macel burges, au fil femmes, qui out l'esprit agal ni scorrent failure nulment courage, est nouvellement, dung host ho par bon zel son nom est dominic cel, qui a tous lecteurs shumely domicile et en Italy. En thulos a prince sa naissance. Missi il a son intelligence a laymander subtilment tele il est totalement par jehin cost de rue mercier a lion et consequement quater vincs fastens of raiment tous de different manière. FF, 27 plates. Title in Gothic letters. Dedication to the reader, in which it states the book is for the profit of tant homs que femmes, patterns medieval. At the end of the preface, finis coronat opus. Esemplario di lavori, chi insegna alle diani il modo e ordine di lavorare, chiusere, e racamere, e finamt fartut l'opere digne di memoria, liqual pofer una donna virtuosa con laco in mano. Et uno documento chi insegna al si prater accio, je ben servito. In 8 vo, 25 ff. Printed on both sides, 48 plates. Title in red Gothic characters, framed round by 6 woodcuts similar to that of Vorsterman at the foot, Fiorio Vavasor fecit. Then follows the Documento per el Comprator, and an address to ladies and readers by Giovandria Vavasor detto Guadagnino, saying that he had already fatti alcuni libri di esempi di diverse sort. There is no date to this copy, but in the library of Prince Massimo at Rome is a copy dated Venice, 18 Feb. 1546, containing 50 plates, and Brunett quotes an edition, Stampato in Venezia, 1556. Cav. Merli also possesses an edition of the same date. Mr. E. Arnold has also a copy with the same date. The patterns are medieval, on black grounds, with counted stitches, a large flower pot, mermaid, paschal lamb, and a double plate representing Orpheus playing to the beasts. 467-21. Esemplario novo di pin di cento variat moster di qualunque, ort bellisime, per cusir intitolato, Fontana di Glai esempli. Oblong 8 vo, no date, 16 ff, 28 plates. In the frontispiece is a fountain with the motto, Solicitudo est mater diviciarum, and on each side of the fountain, Don donzel ch per farvia turn alla, el cusir seguit font veniti. On the back of the frontispiece is the dedication, headed, Il Pellicolo alla molta magnifica Madonna Chiara Lipomana, the page finished by a sonnet. In the last leaf, Avviso alle virtuos donet a qualunque letter Giovanni Andrea Vavasor detto Guadagnino. Says he has negli tempi passati fatto imprimere molto e vari sort d'esemplari di moster, etc. at the foot, nuovamente stampato. This work is also described by Count Cicignara with the same title, only with the date 1550. In the Bibliotheca Communitativa, Bologna, is a copy of the same date. In this last edition, the author writes his name Valvasor. Vavasor Gio, Andrea. Opera Nova Universal intitolata Corona di Riquemi, dove venerand Doni Fancial. Trovera di vari opere fair colari di Camicciola, and tornenti di Leti Turnel di Cassini Boccini Sciuffioni. Cordli di più sort, et molt oper per ricmatori dipiter porvisi. Sic deliqual opero viro esempli ciascuno, la patrapor in opera secto, el suo bisogno. Con gratia novament stampata, nell'inclita cita di Vinigia per Giovanni Andrea Vavasor detto Guadagni. 36 pp. sm. 42, ff. 52 designs, none of which are repetitions of the preceding. Vavasor Gio. Andrea detto Guadagnino. Opera nova, etc. Dove venerand donet fancial troverano di vari oper et molt oper per ricamatori et per dipintori, etc. nuovament stampata, etc. Quite a different collection from the preceding, a little of everything in this volume. Zoan Andrea Vavasor was the pupil in drawing and engraving of Andrea Mantegna. Towards the beginning of the 16th century, he worked on his own account, and his engravings are much sought after. So greedy was he of gain as to obtain for him the name of Guadigno in Venetian patois, covetous. He lived to a great age. 468-24. Libro questo di ricami per il quale si impara in diversi modi l'ordine e il modo di ricamare, cosa non mai più fatta ed e grave stata mostrata. By Alessandro Paganino, plates with a long explanation how these works are done, communicated by Prince Massimo. Patrons pour broders, lingers, massons, verriers, et auteurs gens dispret. A Paris. Pour la Veuve Jean Ruel Rue S. Jacques at l'Enseigne Saint Nicolas, to 23 ff, 32 plates of medieval designs, ornamented title page. Il specchio di pensieri del bel et virtudios don, dove si vide vari sorti di punti, cio punti tagliati, punti grapposi, punti in reed et punti in stura, mdxlvi. Stamp. In Venetia, per Matteo Pagan and Fraseria, in la case 9 per insegna la fede. Ff. Elonisto esempio del virtuoso desiderio Chihano le don di nobile ingegno circa lo imperare I punti tagliati I fagliami. In Venetia per Matteo Pagan in Fraseria al segno della Fido, MDL. In the V&A Museum is a copy dated 1550. Giardinto Novo di Punti Tagliati et Grapposi per esercitio et ornamento del Don. At the end, Venetia, Matteo Pagan in Fraseria, in la case nove, tine per insegna della Fide MDLI. Dedication, alla Signora Lucretia, Romana Matteo Pagan, salute. See also number 38. Verierum protractionum, quas vulgo moruges vocant omnium antihac excusarum libellus lunge copiassissimus pictoribus, orifabris polymillares, barbaricares variusc id genus. 469 artificibus etiam, acu operantibus utilissimus nunc, primen in lucem editus, anno 1554, Balthazar Silvius, Dubois fecit. Joe Theodoret Joe, Israel de Bry Scud. In 42 ff, 23 copperplate. Triumpho di lavori affagliami de I quali si più far ponti in air. Opera di, fra hieronimo de cividal di Friuli, de elordine de I servi di osservantia. Cum gratia et privilegio per annisi. Abel 4214 ff, 22 pl. Ornamental title page. On the top, a female seated in a triumphal car drawn by unicorns, with attendants. On each side of the title are women teaching children to work. P1, Dorso, dedication of the author, Alla Magnifica and Illustre Signora Isabella Contessa Canossa, whose immortal triumpho is represented in the above woodcut. Fra Hieronimo speaks of preparing più alt e divine emprise. Then follow 3 pages of verses in terzet, and P3, Dorso, the impressa of the printer, a lion rampant, holding a sword in his 4 paws. Below, in Padu per Jacobo Fabriano, ad instantia de Fra Hieronimo de Cividal di Friuli, de elordine de I servi di osservantia. Lucidario di Ricami di Gaisop Torello, Venezia, 1556. In 4-2. New model Butch, Allen Nagerin, Unseidenstickern Sayer Nutzlich zu Branche, Vornei in Druck Ausgengen durch Hans Hoffmann, Berger und Formschneider zu Strasburg. At the end, zu Strasburg Gedruckt im Kommarkt durch Jacob Frolic. 1556. 4 TOTO, a to G in 4s. 28 leaves. Title printed in red and black. On it a woodcut of 2 women, one engaged in embroidery, the other fringing her some stuff. The last leaf, GI, has on the recto a woodcut of a woman at a frame, the verso blank. No model Butch, allerly Gattingen Dantelschner, so disser zit in Hock Touchlanden Jeng und Bruchig sind, zu Unterricht Jren Lehrdichteren, und allen anderen Scharwerkeren zu Zurich. 470 und wo die sind, jetzt nolich zuberate, und erstmals in Truch Verferkit durch RM. No place or date, but as appears both from the title and preface to be printed at Zurich by Christopher Froscover. The date probably from to 1542. Signatures a to F in 4s, 24 leaves. On the title a woodcut of 2 women working at lace pillows. Model Butch Welscher, Ober- und Niederländischer Arbeit, Gedruckt zu Frankfurt. No date but probably at least as early as 1530. 4-2. Signatures a to D in 4s, 20 leaves. Title enclosed in an elegant woodcut border. Modelbuch von Erhebene und Flascher Arbeit, auf der Rahmen, Leyden, und nach der Zeil. Gedruckt zu Frankfurt, bei Christian Egenolfs, Urban. The date, 1537, occurs on one of the patterns. 4-2, A to HH in 4s, leaves, title in a woodcut border. 178 patterns. New Modelbuch. Von Allerhand Art, Nehens und Stickens, jetzt mit wie Ellerly Welscher Arbeit, Model und Stalin, Allen Steinmetzen, Seidenstickern und Netterin, Sayer Nutzlich und Kunstlich, von Neuem Zugericht. Gedruckt zu Frankfurt am Main, 1571. Device and motto of Nicholas Bassius on title page, SM, 42, Library V, and A Museum. Des New Modelbuch and C. Frankfurt am Main, 1568 42, printer Nicholas Bassius FF, 40. Modelbuch Zweiter Thale, Frankfurt am Main, 1569 FF, 44. Nose, 36 and 37 are cited by the Marquis data. 470-139. La Gloria et el honor de Ponti Tagliati et Ponti in Air Venezia per Matteo Pagan in Fraseria al Segno della Fede. 1558. Plates. Dedicated to Vittoria Farnese, Duchess of Urbino. Il Monte. Opera nova di ricami intitolata Il Monte, nella quale si ritrova vari, and diverse sorti di mostre, di punti in aera, affagliami. Dove la belle and virtuose don pretran offer ogni sort di lavoro accommodate, alla vera forma misura and grandezza, ci debbono esser nemai più per elle dietro d'alcuno vegut. Opera non men bella ci util and necessaria. Below the impressa of the printer, an eagle with its young, motto, virtut parta sibi non tantum. In Venetiatu, 16 ff, 29 plates of bold scroll borders. Il Monte, Libro Secondo. Opera dove ogni bella donna potrà fare ogni sort di lavorizio coleri, fazzolti, manchetti of vertiger, births, and c. in Venetia, 1560. Printer's mark and motto as number 39, afterwards the dedication dated, a Vittoria de Cordova Gio, Ant, Bindoni, in which he states, ho preso arditamente presentarvi questo secondo Monte. 42, ff. 16. Bellas de ricami et dissegni opera novo non men bellici util, e necessaria et non più vegeto in luce. Venezia, 1558. Ob 42, 20 plates of patterns. Lo splendor del virtuos Giovanni, con vari mostre di fagliami e punti in air. Venezia. Per Ispo Faristo in Cal dell'Equa a S. Julian all in segno del Pellegrino, 1558. Plates. 472-44. Trionfo di Virtu Libro Novo de Cusir, con Fagliami, Ponti Affili, Ponti Cruciati, and C. Venezia, 1559. Plates. Burat. Consisting of 4 leaves, with patterns of canvas, tela chiara, in squares, for works in punta of various widths, with instructions how to increase or diminish the patterns. See cutwork. On the back of the last page is printed in large characters, P. Alex Pag, Paganinis, Benecensis F. Bena, V.V. Burato, con nova maestria, gradios don, novo artificio Roman 6 Oporto. A second edition without date. 4-2 ff. 59, frontispiece, Ladies at Work, verso, Triumph of Fame, 4 books of designs of great elegance and taste. The Marquis data assigns them to Vavasor. Passerati Aurelio Pitter Bolognese de Segnator e Miniatur Figlio di Bartolomeo, Passerati, circa al 1560. Libro primo di Lavori, alle molto illuster, et virtuosissime gentil don Bolognesi. Libro secondo alle molto magnifice, et virtuosissimi signori. In fall, Abel, ff., including 2 dedications and a frontispiece. Designs for embroidery, etc., drawn with a pen. In the title page of the first book is the device of a sunflower, non san questi occhi volger altrove. La Pompe, opera nova di ricami dove Travanci vari mostre di punto in air. Venezia, 1557. Probably an earlier impression of the following, 42 ff. 16. La Pompe, opera nova nella quale si ritrovano vari, and diverse sorti di mostre, per poter far cordel over bindel, di aro, di seta, di filo, overo di altra cosa di devlabellet virtuos don patrano fair ogni sort di lavoro, sio merli di diverse sort, cavesi, coleri, manchetti, and tut quelcos, 473 ci la Palliser. Opera non men bella ci util and necessaria. E non più vegeta in luce. 1559. Below the same impressor of the eagle, as in Il Monte, nose, 39 and 40, Vo 16 ff, 30 plates. A great variety of borders and indented patterns, Merli. Fig, 169. Civendino, alla Libreria Delegata. Illustration, Fig, 169. La Pompe, 1559. In the cat, Distrays is noted. La Pompe, opera nella quale si retrovano diverse sorti di mosts per poter far cordel, bindel, doro di seta di filo. 1559 Fig. Probably the same work. La Pompe, Libro Secondo. Opera nuova nella quale si ritrovano vari diverse sorti di mostre, per poter fare cordel, aver bindel, doro di seta di filo, avero di altra cosa. Dove 474 La Belle and virtuos don patrano far ogni sort di lavoro, coi merli di diverse sort, cavesi, Coleri, Minchetti and Tutquel Coast Chili Paesino. Opera han men bello chi util and necessaria e non più vegeta in luce. Impressor of the printer, Pegasus, and below, in Venetia 1560. Abel 8 vo 16 ff, 29 plates. Mrs. Stisted's copy is dated 1562, and there is one at Vienna, in the Imperial Library, of the same date. Splendor del virtuos Giovanni dov si Contingono molt, and very moster e fagliami cio e grave punti in air, et punti tagliati, bellissimi and con tail artificio, chi li punti tagliati servino ali punti in air. Et de quella ch, e grave sopragasi far si passono, medicinament molt alter. In Venetia, Appresso Geronimo Calipino, 1563, vo. 20 ff. 35 plates of scroll patterns in the style of Il Monte. Dedication alla molto onorata M. Anzola ingegniera succura mia dignis. Francesco Calipino, wishing, he says, to ristamper la present opera, he dedicates it to her. In Bib. Melzi, Milan, a copy dated 1567. Lucidario di Ricami, nel qual si Contingono molt, and very sorti di disegni. A punti in air et punti tagliati, and a fagliami, and con figure and di più alter maniere, cum al present si usano non più venut in luce per liquali ogni elevato, ingegno patra in diversi modi commodissimament serviasi. In Venetia, Appresso Ironimo Calipino, 1563, vo. 16 ff. 29 plates of flowing borders like the preceding. I Freddi opera nuova intitolata I Freddi de I punti in stuora, a fagliami, nella quale si ritrova veri, et diverse sorti di moster di ponti in stuora, a fagliami, and punti in gassii and in punti in trezola. Dov ogni bella et virtuosa donna patra faire ogni sort di lavoro, sio fazzolti, coleri, minchetti, merli, frissi, cavesi intimel, overo forel, a vertiger de camis, and alter sorti di lavori, cum più a pino patre vedir. Nime per el e diatro di alcan altro fat and post in luce. 475 opera non men bella, chi util et necessaria a ciascuna virtuosa gentildonna. In Vinegia, 1564. Abel, 8 vo, 16 ff. 30 plates of patterns either in dots or small squares. Patrons pour broders, linguières, maçons, verriers, et autres gens disparate. Nouvellement imprimé, à Paris, rue Saint-Jacques, à la Cuta Rignard M. d'Elzia. Feed opera nova intitolata, de ricami nella quale si contiene very diverse sort di moster di punti scritto, tagliato, in stuora in reed and c. In Venetia, Appresso Domenico de Franceschi and Fraseria, all in segna della Regina. MDLVI. In 4-2 ff. 16. In his Avviso Lector, Franceschi alludes to 3 other works he had published, styled La Regina, La Serena, and La Speranza. Serena opera nova di Ricami, nella quale si ritrova variet diverse sort di punti in stuora et punti a filo. In Venetia, Domenico di Franceschi. 1564. Abel 42 ff. 16. Nose, 55 and 56 cited by Marquis Data. Le Tracer des Patrons, contenant diverses sorties de broderies et lingeries, pour cauder avec grande facilité, et pour ouvrir en diverses sortes de piquer avec l'esquille, pulverizer par dessus, et faire ouvrages de toutes sorties de points, and ct par Jean Austins. Lyon, Ben Rigaud. 1581, in 4-2. Austin's Giovanni. La vera perfection del disegno di vari sorti di ricami, et di chiusir and c. Punti a fagliami punti tagliati punti a filiet rimisi punti incruciati, punti a stuora et ogni altra art chi dia opera disegni. Fata nuovament per Gio. Austin's. Vittoria con Gracia et Prevalgio della Luz. 476 Senato Venetiano per anni, in Venetia Appresso Gio. Austin's, 1567 to Abel. 4 Cahiers of 8 ff, 74 plates. Letter of Austin's to Lucretia Contarini, verso an engraving of Lucretia Romana surrounded by her women signed Jose. Sal. Joseph Salviati, who furnished the design, 2 sonnets and aves. A striking example of the borrowing between France and Italy in the 16th century, probably of the school of Fontainebleau. Grotesques like E du Cerso, scrolls after E de Laulny, fresco of figures from G. Torri. Brunet describes a copy dated. Austin's, La vera perfection del disegno and ct. Venetia M. dlxxia. presso gli heredi valvasari egio. Dom, Micheli al segno dell'ippogrifo. Infortuable, cited by Marquis Data. News Kunstlicher, Modelbuch von allerhand Artlichen ungerichten Modeln, and C. Baby Tabin. Le Livre de Lingerie, composé par Meister Dominique de Sira, Italien enseignant le noble and gentle art de l'Esquil, pour Besongner and 2 points. Utile and profitable à touts dames and demoiselles, pour passer le temps, and uiter oisivité. Nouvellement augmenté, and enrichi de plusieurs excellence and divers patrons, tant du point coupé, réseau, que passement de l'invention de M. Jean Cousin, painter à Paris. À Paris, chez Hierosme de Marneffe and la Veuve de Guillaume Coilet, au Montes Hilaire à l'enseigne du Pelican, 1584, avec privilege du roi. In the Cat, Distrays, number 8848 is Livre de Portraiture de Jean Cousin. Paris, 1637, in 4 figtu, 28 ff, 51 plates of medieval design. Frontispiece, 3 women and a child at work, on each side of the title a man, and a woman at work under a trifoliated canopy. Privilege for 3 years to H. de Marneffe, Juré libraire en l'Université de Paris. L'auteur aux lecteurs. He takes his pen to portray what he has seen, en Italy, Espagny, Romany, Alemagny, and Otterpais, don't genie fies aucune mention à cause de trop long plexate, that he gives at 477 least 80 designs for the use and singular profit of many, homs tant que femmes. Below, finis coronet opus. Then follows a ballade of 28 lines. On the last page, the impressor of Cavelat, a pelican in its piety, mors in me viter in me. Frano Gio, Libro del Moster de Suser per la Dawn, engravings on wood and 8 on copper. Cited by Marquis Data. Danili Bartolomeo Recameter Libro di diversi disegni per colari, punti per fazzoletti et redicelle di vari sort. Agostino Paracini Forma in Bologna. Leaves Abel, 8 vo, entirely engraved au burin, towards the end of the 16th century. Ornamento del bel et virtuos don opera novinella quale, travirai vari sorti di frissi. Con li quali si potra ornar ciascuna donna, and ogni ledi con ponti tagliato, ponti grapposi, and ogni altra sort di ponti, per faire quel bel oper ci sia partingona, alle virtuos and lode vali fancial. On a scutcheon with 3 figures below, Libro Primo. Lib, Victoria and Albert Museum. Les singuliers et nouveaux portraits et ouvrages de lingerie. Servants de patrons à faire toutes sorties de points, coupés, lasses and otters, dédiés à la roine. Nouvellement inventes au profit and contentement des nobles dames and demoiselles and otters gentles esprits amateurs d'un tel art. Par le Seigneur Frédéric Sic de Vincielo Venetian. À Paris. Par Ian Leclerc le Iun Rechardier au chef Saint-Denis. 1587. Avec privilege du roi. Les singuliers et nouveaux portraits et ouvrages de lingerie, oesti representés les sept planètes, and plusieurs autres figures and portraits servants de patrons à faire de plusieurs sorties de lasses. Nouvellement inventes au profit and contentement des nobles dames and demoiselles and otters gentles esprits, amateurs d'un tel art. Par le Seigneur Frédéric de Vincielo Venetian. À Paris. Par Ian Leclerc le Iun Rechardier au chef Saint-Denis. 1587. Avec privilege du roi. At the end, privilege for 9 years to Ian Leclerc le Iun, tailleur de histoires, à Paris, signed 27 June, 1587. De l'imprimerie de David Leclerc, Rue Fremantle à l'Estal d'Or. 478-42. The first part consists of 40 ff, 36 of patterns, and 4 preliminary pages. P1, the title page with decorated border in which are 2 ladies at work. See title page of this work. P2, dedication of Le Seigneur Frédéric de Vincielo aux Bénévoles Lecteurs, in which he sets forth that several authors before him having published certain patterns for work that les seigneurs, dames, and demoiselles ont eu pour agréable. He, to show la bonne volonté que porte à la France, laquelle aimait été douce et favorable, depuis certain temps que j'ai quitté Venise, pays de mon nativité. Wish to portray the present, portraits d'ouvrages magnifiques tous differs. And non encore usites en set si tri ni alters, and qued ja tennis cachets and incnus jusques a maintenant. Feeling assured that if the first you had seen, en engendre quelque fruit and utilité, su si en apporteront davantage. and if I see this my invention pleases you, I will vous faire participer d'un alter second band d'ouvrages. P3. Dedication à la Royne, Louise de Vaudemont by Leclerc, saying that having received from Italy some rare and singular patterns, and ouvrages de Ellingerie and en it invti quelques uns, cellen mon petit scavoir, j'ai pensé puis que ces choses la appartenant principalement aux dames, that he cannot do better than present them to the Queen, as if these patterns are useful, as he hears some less perfect and more rudely sketched have served and profited before. They ought to be offered to Her Majesty, signed last day of May, 1587. P4. A sonnet. Aux dames et demoiselles. Ellen s'efforce à gagner le cœur des gardies seigneurs, pour posséder, en fin une exquise richesse elauter, aspire aux estats pour monter en altesse, et elauter par la guerre à lech les honneurs. Quand à moi, seulement pour chasser mes langers, je me sens satisfait de vivre en petites, et de faire si bien, quoique dames je délaisse un grand contentement en mes graves labours. Prenez donc en gré, mes dames, je vous prie portraits ouvrages lesquels je vous dédie, pour tromper vos ennuis, et l'esprit employer. En cette nouveauté pourrais beaucoup apprendre, et maîtresses enfin en cest over vous render, le travail est plaisant. Si grand est le lawyer. Mourir assiduament per virtu, non mourir. Then follow the 36 patterns set off in white on a black ground, viz. Ouvrages de point coupé, the first plate with the double Greek, LL, according to the fashion introduced by Francis I of using Greek monograms, standing for Queen Louise. On the second page are 2 escutcheons, one of France, the other with the letter H for Henry Roman III. Then follow 8 passements de point coupé, which are succeeded by 8 more ouvrages de point coupé. Part 2, 24 ff. Same decorated frontispiece and 22 plates of subjects in squares for stitches like the German patterns of the present day. These consist of the 7 planets, Sol, Luna, Mars, Mercury, Jupiter, Venus, and Saturn. 4 in squares of various designs, 2 of Amorini shooting stags and birds, Neptune and the winds, an arabesque with impressa of a column with circle and double triangle, 5 borders and squares, and 479 bordures à carreaux, diamond-shaped meshes. The last page contains the extract from the privilege. This is the original edition of Vinciolo, of which we know but one copy existing that in the library at Rouen. It was followed the same year by 2 other editions, with alterations. Les singuliers et nouveaux portraits pour les ouvrages de lingerie, nouvellement augmentes de plusieurs différents portraits servants de patrons, affaires touts, sorties points coupés, lasses, et autres réseaux de point compté. Dédié à la Royne. Le tout inventé, au profit and contentment des nobles dames and demoiselles and otters gentles esprits, amateurs d'un tel art. Par le Seigneur Frédéric de Vinciolo Venetian. A. Paris. Par Ian Leclerc le Iun, Rechardier, au chef Saint-Denis, prise le Collège de Coqueret, avec privilege du roi, 1587. Les singuliers et nouveaux portraits pour les ouvrages de lingerie, ou avons augmenté, plusieurs nouveaux and différents portraits de Rousseau. Tout point compté, plusieurs nouvelles bordures et autres sorties différentes. Nouvellement inventes au profit and contentement des nobles dames and demoiselles and autres gentles esprits amateurs d'un tel art. Par le Seigneur Frédéric de Vinciolo Venetian. À Paris. Par Ian Leclerc le Iun, Rechardier, au chef Saint-Denis, prise le Collège de Coqueret, avec privilege du roi. 1587 part, 40 ff. The same frontispiece, dedications, date, and sonnet. As the first, the same number of patterns, only the 8 styled in the first passements are here all called, like the others, ouvrages de point coupé. See Fig. 4. In D part, 32 ff. This part has 30 patterns, comprising the 24 of the first edition, and 6 additional ones, consisting of squares and 2 hunting subjects. Les singuliers et nouveaux portraits, du Seigneur Frédéric de Vinciolo Venetian, pour toutes sorties d'ouvrages de lingerie. Dédié à la Royne derechef et pour la troisième fois augmentes outri le Rousseau premier et le point coupé et lasses, de plusieurs beaux et différents portraits de Rousseau de point cité, avec le nombre des males, chose non encore vue inventé. 488 Paris. Par Ian Leclerc le Iun, Rechardier, au chef Saint-Denis, prise le Collège de Coqueret. Avec privilege du roi, 1587. This must be the first impression of the third edition. Les singuliers et nouveaux portraits, du Seigneur Frédéric de Vincilo-Venetian, pour toutes sortes d'ouvrages de lingerie. Dédié à la roine, derechef et pour la troisisme fois augmentes, outri le Rousseau premier and la pointe coupée en lasses, de plusieurs beaux différents portraits de Rousseau de pointe cité, avec le nombre des males, chose non encore vue et inventé. À Paris. Par Ian Leclerc le Iun, au Mont Saint-Hilaire, du chef Saint-Denis, prise le clos Brano. Avec privilège du roi, 1588. Les singuliers et nouveaux portraits, du Seigneur Frédéric de Vincilo-Venetian, pour toutes sortes d'ouvrages de lingerie. Dédié à la roine, derechef et pour la troisisme fois augmentes, outri le Rousseau premier and la pointe coupée en lasses, de plusieurs beaux différents portraits de Rousseau de pointe cité, avec le nombre des males, chose non encore vue et inventé. À Paris. Par Ian Leclerc le Iun, au Mont Saint-Hilaire, au chef Saint-Denis, prise le clos Brano. Avec privilège du roi, 1588. This must be subsequent to the Brussels impression, as Jean Leclerc has changed his address. In the third edition, Dorso of pp. 1 and 2, we have the addition of portraits of Louise de Vaudemont and Henry Roman III, with a complimentary stanza of 4 lines under each. In his advertisement au lecteur, Vinciolo says that having promised, since the first impression of his book, to give a nouvelle bande d'ouvrages, and not to disappoint certain ladies who have complained that he has not made du Rousseau Assez beau allure fantaisie, I have wished for the third time to place before their eyes many new and different patterns of Rousseau de Pointe Conté, quajae causis, et attaches à la fin de mes premières figures, beneath which I have put the number and quantity of the stitches. Same dedication and sonnet as before. Privilege for 9 years dated Paris, 25 May 1587. De l'imprimerie de David Leclerc, Rayas Jacques au Petit Bec devant le Collège de Marmoutier. St. Part 40 ff. 36 plates, 27 of point coupé, 2 stomachers, and 7 passements de point coupé, the same lettered ouvrages as in the preceding impression, ND Part 36 ff. 50 plates. The 30 already published in the second edition, after which follow the 20 additional of Rousseau de Pointe Conté, announced in the preface, consisting of 6 quarets, 2 coins de 481 mauquer, 2 borgers, 6 animals, lion, pelican, unicorn, stag, peacock, and griffin, and the 4 seasons. 10 des fleurs représentant le printemps, etc. These last 20 have the number of stitches given. See Fig. 5. On the last page is an escutcheon with the arms of France and Poland. A later impression still. Same title, date, portraits, dedication, and sonnet, only the privilege is dated, see 12 jour de November 1587, de l'imprimerie de David Leclerc, Rue S. Jacques aux Trois Mores. FF. 30 plates first part, 50 plates in second. Les singuliers et nouveaux portraits, du Seigneur Frédéric de Vincilo-Venetian, pour toutes sortes d'ouvrages de lingerie. Dédié à la roine douairière de France. De richef et pour la troisisme fois augmentes, outri le Rousseau premier and la pointe coupée en lasses, de plusieurs beaux and différents portraits de Rousseau de pointe cité, avec le nombre des males, chose non encore vue et inventé. À Paris, par Ian Leclerc, Rue Saint-Jean de Latran, à la Salamander, avec privilege du roi, 1595. This impression is dedicated to Louise de Vaudemont, now Réanie Douairière, Henry Roman III, having died in 1589. The same title as that of 1595, differing only in date. Privilege for 6 years, Danae Mance, Le 3 Juillet 1593. At the foot, de l'imprimerie de David Leclerc au Petit Corbel, 1606. The first part has 32 ff. And 36 plates, 32 ouvrages de pointe coupée, and 4 stomachers. The second part 46 plates, same as those of 1588, only 4 less. On the last page, the escutcheon of France and Navarre. Les singuliers et nouveaux portraits, du Seigneur Frédéric de Vincilo-Venetian, pour toutes sortes d'ouvrages de lingerie. Dédié à la roine derechef et pour la quatrième fois augmentes, outri le Rousseau premier et la pointe coupée et lasses, de plusieurs beaux et différents portraits de Rousseau de pointe Conté, avec le nombre de males, chose non encore vue ni inventi. A Thurin, par Elisero Tomasi. 1589. Described in Cat, Sicagnara with the date 1658, the first part 44 ff, and plates, the second with 36 plates. 482. The editions of 1613 and 1623 are described in their chronological order. Nos. 64 and 71. That of 1603 we have not seen, but M. Leber states it to be equally rich with that of 1623. The copies of Vinciolo in the Bodleian bear the dates of 1588, 1603, and 1612. Baron Pichon has a copy of an impression of 1612. One at Bordeaux in the Bib. De la Ville is dated 1588. In a book sale at Antwerp, March 1864, there was sold the following. Lot 528. Livre de Patrons de Lingerie Dédié la Royne, Nouvellement invent par le Seine R. Frédéric de Vinciolo, Venetian. Paris, Jean Leclerc, 1598. Les Singuliers et Nouveaux Portraits pour toutes sortes d'ouvrages de lingerie. Paris, Ibid, 1598. Les Seconds Œuvres et Subtiles Inventions de Lingerie. Paris, Ibid. Nouveaux Portraits de Point Coupé et Dentelles and Petite Mienne et Grande Forme. A. Montbelliard, Jacques Foillet, 1598. 4 Tom, Volume 4, V. Ank, Fig, Sir Boys. It went for 440 francs to Mr. Ross. We do not know the editions of. As M. Leber observes, the various editions of Vinciolo, published by Leclerc and his widow, from 1587 to 1623, and perhaps later, are only impressions more or less varied of the two distinct books, the one of Point Coupé, the other of Lassus. The work of Vinciolo has been reprinted in several countries. In England, it has been translated and published by Wolff. See number 72 at Liege by Jean de Glen. See number 79. Mr. Douce says that it was reprinted at Strasbourg, 1596, and at Bâle, 1599, with a second part, which is rare and sometimes contains a portrait by Gaultier of Catherine de Bourbon. In the Bib. Nat. Grave, BC 22, a volume headed Vinciolo, Federigo Painter Venetian et ses imitateurs, contains, with La Pratique, etc. of Mignorac, see number 93, a German copy of the Nouveaux Portraits, the work printed by Ludwig Königs at Bâle, 1599, see no, and a German work headed Broderies sur Filet, 50 plates engraved upon copper. New and singular patterns and works of linen, serving for patterns to make all sorties of lace edging and cutworks, newly invented for the profit and contentment of ladies, gentlewomen, and others that are desirous of this art. London, imprinted by J. Wolfe and Edward White, 1591. Epistle to the Reader. Having framed a body of the best and rarest manner in true perfection of sundry sorties of jouisses or works, as well for frameworks as other needleworks, I devised with all diligence and industrious study to satisfy the gentle minds of virtuous women by bringing to light things never before as yet seen nor committed to print. All which devises are so framed in due proportion as taking them in order. The one is formed or made by the other, and so proceedeth forward. Whereby with more 483s they may be sewed and wrought in cloth, and keeping true accompt of the threads, maintain the bow tie of the work. And more, who desireth to bring the work into a lesser form, let them make the squares less. And if greater, then enlarge them, and so may you work in divers sorties, either by stitch, pouncing, or puttering upon the same as you please. Also it is to be understood that these squares serve not only for cutworks, but also for all other manner of sewing or stitching, noting withal that they are made to keep the work or jouis in good order and even proportion, and, even if you will that squares be greater, make of 2, 1, 4, 2, and so they will be larger. And in this manner may you proceed in all. God prosper your desires. Then follows the dedication. To the right worshipful gentlewoman, Mistress Susan Saltonstall, wife to the right worshipful Mr. Richard Saltonstall, alderman of the City of London, afterwards Lord Mayor, and knighted in 1597. It being my chance, right worshipful, to lighten upon certain patterns of cutwork, and others brought out of foreign countries, which have been greatly accepted of by divers ladies and gentlewomen of sundry nations, and consequently of the common people. This seemed unto me a sufficient instance and argument to bestow likewise some pains for the publishing thereof, but being in suspense of the dedication, 2 causes induced me to embolden myself to present it unto your acceptation and patronage. First, because that rare devises and inventions are for the most part more agreeable and gratefuller accepted than ordinary and common things, although of great price and value. Secondly, because these works belong chiefly to gentlewomen, for to pass away their time in virtuous exercises, wherefore to fit and accommodate the dedication, aright to the contents and subject of the book one, thought it not amiss to offer it unto your worship, in token of thankfulness for so many benefits, which I have received so bountifully at your hands, assuring myself moreover, that as these patterns will bring sufficient contentment and profit to all well-willers, that are desirous of this art, so they shall forever acknowledge themselves to be beholden chiefly unto you, being the chiefest occasion of the publishing and setting forth thereof. And therefore up in hope that you will take these inventions in good part, which in time I am purposed, if God permit, to increase and augment with more patterns of work. In the meantime, I pray, God give to your worship a happy, prosperous, and long life, with a full accomplishment of all your virtuous desires. Your worship's most dutiful servant and kinsman, Adrian Points. Fiori di ricami nuovamente posti in luce nei quali sono varii, et diversi disegni di lavori, cum merli, boari, manichetti, and alter sorti di opere, ci al present sono in uso, utilissimi ad ogni stato di don. Second impression. Impressa of Mercury, below. In Bologna per Giovanni Rossi, MDXCI, ad instanza di Tommaso Passini. 484 obol, 8 vo, 20 ff, 18 plates like Veselio, 1 Bavero. Dedicated by the author to La Signora Silveria Rossi Ghisolieri. Mostly indented patterns on black grounds. Prima part de Fiori, I disegni di vari sorti di ricami moderni, cum merli, bavari, manichetti, and altri nobili lavorici al present sono in uso. A figure of peace, below. In Venetia, Appresso Francesco di Franceschi Senese, all, insegna della Pace, 1591. Obol, 8 vo, 20 ff, 17 plates in the style of Veselio. Dedication to La Signora Gabriella Zeno Michel, signed, Di Venetia Ali 19 di Marzo, 1591, Giovan Battista Ciotti. The last played a figure of fortune, with finis in Venetia, 1591. Appresso Niccolo Morti, ad instantia di Francesco di Franceschi. La vera perfection del disegno di vari sorti di ricami and di chiusere ogni sorti di punti affiglami, punti tagliati, punti affili and rimessi, punti incrociati, punti estuaro and on altar art, ci dia opera disegni. E di nuovo agiantovi vari sorti di merli, e moster, ci al present sono in uso and in pratica. Impressa of peace differing from the preceding. In Venetia, Appresso Francesco di Franceschi Senese, all insegna della Pace, 1591. Obol 8 vo, 86 ff, 72 plates. Dedicated to Signora Lucretia Contarini, per matrimonio Priula Nobile Gentil Donna Venetiana, by Giovanni Ostens. A woodcut of Lucretia working with her maidens, signed José Sol, 1557. Patterns, small squares, gorgets, youth, Paris, Pyramus, and Thisbe, arabesques, grotesques, and an alphabet. On the last leaf, dorso, ABCD tut sono quaterni. A figure again of peace, and in Ven, 1590. Corona del nobili et virtuos don. Libro primo. Nel quale si dimostra in varge disegni, tutti la sorti di mostra di punti tagliati, punti in area, punti a reticolo, ed ogni altra, 485 sort cosi per fregi cum per merli, and rosette, chicon el acco si usano higiti per tutta el Europa. Et molt del quali moster passono surveyor ancora per opera mazet. Agiantivi in questa quarta impression molti bellissimi, disegni, non mai più veggiti. Then follows the printer's impressa of the stork and serpent. Voluptatum et malorum effitu dissipatio, with a lady at work on each side, and below. Con Provalgio, in Venetia, Appresso Cesar Veselio in Fraseria nel Case de Preti, 1592. Which is repeated in the second and third books. Obol 42 32 ff, 28 plates. Dedication of Veselio alla Clarissima, et illustrissima Signora Vienna Vendramina Nanni, dignitissima consort dell'illa stamo sig polo Nanni, il procurator dies Marco, in which he refers to his work on costume, and says that he dedicates this book to her for the delight she takes in these works, and in farn essercitor la di casa sua, reisto del più virtuos Giovanni ci higiti vivano in questa città. Signed, Venice, Jan. 20, 1591. Beautiful designs, among which are 3 corners for handkerchiefs, the last lettered. Diverse inventioni P. Cantoni di Fasolti. On plate 3, within a point coupé border, is a statue of Venus standing upon a tortoise, with other figures, and above, Conviency, Ci della donna la bonta, and non la bellezza divulgata, and underneath. Venir io son, de la mirabile mani del dato fidia di un bel marmo finta. In mi vedit edi gentili, e humani, ch, esser de donna a gentalzo a quinta, io sopra una testagen dimora, per cestir in casa, ija tacita hora. Corona del nobili et virtuos don, libro secondo. Nel quale si dimostra in varge de segni, tut la sorti dimostra deput tagliati, punti in aria, punti a reticolo, ed ogni altra sort cosi per fregi, cum per merli, and rosette, chicon el acosi usano higiti per tutta el Europa. Et molti del quali moster persono server ancora per opera mazet. Agiantivi in questa quarta impression molti bellissimi disegni non mai più veduti. Con privilegio. In Venetia, appresso Cesar Veselio, in Fraseria nel case de Preti, 1592. ff. 26 plates. The dedication of this and the next book, though differently worded, are addressed to the same lady as the first. This is dated Jan. 24. Among the patterns are 2 designs for handkerchiefs, and on the last plate a statue of Vesta, within a point coupé border. Corono del nobili et virtuos don. Libro terzo. Nel 486 qual si dimostra in varii disegni molt sorti dimostri di punti in aria, punti tagliati, punti a reticolo, and ancora di pixiole, cosi per fregi cum per merli, and rosette, ci con el acosi usano higiti per tutta el Europa. Con alcun alter invention di Bavari all usanza venetiana, opera nuova e non più in luce. Con privilegio. In Venetia, appresso Cesar Veselio, stan Fraseria nel case de Petri. 1592. Dedication dated June 15, 1591. Veselio says he has added alcun inventioni di Bavari all usanza nostra. In the copy, Bib. De El Arsenal, 11,955 bis, are added instructions to transfer the patterns upon parchment without injuring the book. The last plate shows how to reduce the patterns and how to prick them. Fig. 170. This is sometimes given at the end of the first book instead of the third. ff. 26 plates, 2 of Bavari. Illustration, Fig. 170. Manner of pricking the pattern, Veselio. On PL 27, woman with a torch and cupid. At PL 28, in a point coupé border, is a fox holding the bust of a lady, the conceit of which is explained by the verses to be, that sense is better than beauty. Trovo la volpe di un scultor eletto una testa si ben formata, tail chi solamente spirito havresti detto tanto el industria, e el artificio vale, la prend in man, poi dice. O chi perfetto capo, e gentle. Ma voto e grave di intelletto. Giello della corona per la nobili e virtuos don. Libro quarto. Nel qual si dimostra altri nuovi bellissimi disegni di tut la sorte dimostra di punti in aria, punti tagliati and punti a reticolo, cosi per fregi, cum per merli, and rosette, ci con el acosi usano higiti per tutta el Europa. Et molt del quali moster persono server ancora per opera mazet nuovament posto, in luce con molt bellissime inventioni, non mai più usate, ni veget. Con privilegio. In Venetia, appresso Cesar Veselio, in Fraseria nella casa de I Preti. 1594. Same impressa of the stork and serpent. Dedicated to the sign, Isabella Pallavicina Lupi Marchesa di Sorgana, dated Venetia Alley 20 Novembrio 1592. Cesar Veselio, 30 plates. 487 Veselio, author of the Corona and Giello, also published a work on costumes styled Digli Habiti Antichi et Moderni. In Venezia, Presso Damian Zanero. In the frontispiece is a salamander, on the last leaf a figure of Vesta. It has been reproduced by F. Didot Paris. He was not, as is often incorrectly stated, a relation or even of the same family as Titian. These are the earliest impressions we have had an opportunity of examining of Veselio's works, which appear to have been widely circulated. The Bib. De El Arsenal possesses 2 copies of the Corona, number 11,955, from which we have described. In the other, number 11,155 bis, Book 1 Ultima, Book 2 Quarta, are both dated 1593, and Book Nuovamente Ristampata la Quarta Volta, 1592. The plates all the same. the Library of Rouen No. 1315 has a volume containing the Corona and Giallo. Book 1, Quarta Imp, Book 2, Ultima, both dated 1594, and Book 3, Quinta, 1593. The Giallo, 1593. In the Bodleian is a copy of the three books, date 1592, and another, date 1561, was in the possession of the late Mrs. Dennistown of Dennistown. At Venice, in the Doge's library, is a volume containing the three books of the Corona and the Giallo, dated 1593. Mrs. Stisted, Bagni di Lucca, also possesses the three books of the Corona, dated 1597, and the Giallo, 1592. At Bologna, the library has one volume, containing the first and second books only, evidently the original impressions. The titles are the same as the above, only to each is affixed Opera Nuova e non più data in luce and Stampata per Glai here della Regina, 1591, and Instancia di Cesare Veselio, sta in Fraseria. The same library also possesses a volume with the three books of the Corona, the first and third ottava, the second quarta, and the Giallo, nuovamente posto in luce, all in Venetia appresso Glai Heredi di Cesare Veselio in Fraseria, 1608. At Vienna, in the New Museum for Art and Industry, is a copy of the five books, dated 1601. Cav. Merli cites from a copy of the four books, dated 1600. The various impressions, therefore, date from 1591 to 1608. We see these different parts, like those of Vinciolo and all these old collections, have been printed and reprinted independently of each other, since the third part was at its fifth impression in 1593, while the first, which ought to have preceded it, was only at its fourth in. Nu model Butch Darin en allerlei Gadung Skoner Modeln der Neuen Ostjuskitten Arbeit auf Kragen, Hemter, Jaklet und dergleichen zu Neuen, so zuver in Tuchland nicht Jessahen. Allen Thugentsamen Frauen und Jungfrauen, Natterinnen, auch allen Ottern solas zu solcher Kunstlichen Arbeit haben, Sayer Dienstlich. 488 Getrucht in Ulegung George Straben, von S. Gallum, Anno 1593. Translation. New pattern book, in which are all sorts of beautiful patterns of the new cutwork for collars, shirts, jackets, and such like, such as never before were seen in Germany. Most useful to all virtuous dames and such artistic works, very respectfully dedicated. Printed for the publisher, G. Straben. A reprint of the third book of Veselio's Corona. New model Butch, Darin en allerlei Gadung Skoner Modeln der Neuen, etc. Probably a reprint of number 79, plates. Les singulars et nouveaux portraits, pour toutes sorties de lingeries de Jean de Glen, dédiés à Madame Lois de Perez. Alliage, chez Jean de Glen, Elan, 1597. Abel, 42, 39 plates, mostly borrowed from Vinciolo, as well as the title. Fiordi Ricami nuovamente porti in luce. Fiorens, 1596, ad in stanza di Matteo Florini, 2 Abel, 24 plates and 2 leaves of text. Fiori di Ricami nuovamente porti in luce ni quali sono, vari et diversi disegni di lavori, como Merli, Bavari, Manichetti e alter sort di opera Siena, appresso Matteo Florini, 1603 tuabel, 24 pages. Giogolo, and sinel quale si dimostra altri novi bellissimi disegni di tutta la sort, di Moster and C, di Punti and C, Cosi, 489 per fregi, cum per Merli et Rosette chi con el acosi usano hagi di per tut el Europa. Opera mazzetto nuovamente posta in luce con mot bellissime inventioni, non mai più usate ni vegut. In Siena, Matteo Florini MDCI, tuabel. Cited by Marquis Data. Skon News Model Butch von allerlei Lustigen, Model Naxenehen, zu Worken und zu Stick, Gemacht im Jar ch. 1597, zu Nürnberg, bei Balthasar Lehmachsen zu Erfrigen. Translation. Fine new pattern book of all sorts of pleasant patterns for sewing, working, and embroidering. Made in the year of Christ 1597, at Nuremberg to be had of Balthasar Lehmachsen. Abel Fall, 27 ff. Sheets, title page and poem, signed J.S. Johann Sibmacher. Mr. Gruner has communicated to us a work with the same title, dated Nouveau portraits de point coupé et dentelles, en petite moyenne, et grande forme nouvellement inventées, and mise en lumière imprimée à Montbéliard par Jacques Foillet, X6, 1598. Small 4 82 ff, 78 plates. Frontispiece with borders composed of squares of point coupé. Avertissement aux dames, of 3 pages, stating these works are all composed of point devant l'esquille, de point en toile, en bouclages and de coordinages. The writer gives patterns of roses of all sizes, very little, middling, large, and very large, with from 1 to 9 pertuis or openings, holes. Also carreaux in different forms, and lastly dentelles. Je n'ai voulu ompter de vous dire que pour faire des dentelles, il vous faut jeter un fil de la grandeur que désirez faire vos dentelles, and les coordonner, puis jeter les fils dedans, qui faire attendre le cordon and lui donner la forme carrée, ronde, ou telle forme que désires, si questant faked vous parachevers facilement. Inoltre vous verras questant bien petites deviennent puis et puis bien grands jusques à la fin. Elles vous enrichiront and embelliront vos ouvrages en les applicant aux boards dissux. Directions, we confess, perfectly enigmatical to us. The author finishes by exhorting the ladies to imitate Minerva and Arachne, qui antiquis un grand renom, pour avoir, CME à l'envie l'une de l'autre, travailler de l'esquille. The advertisement is followed by an exhortation aux jeunes filles. In verse, of 21 lines beginning. Si nusable est aux humans la paresse, etc. patterns of roses, of point coupé. 490 and 18 of carreau, variously disposed. Then follow 20 patterns of lace, of bien petites, moyennes, and grosses, all au point devant l'esquille. See figs, 8 to 12. At the end, la fin couronne à l'oeuvre. This is the earliest pattern book in which the word dentelle occurs. Nu modelbuch darin en allerlei ausgeschnitten Arbeit, in kleiner, mittelmäßiger und grosser Form erst neulich erfunden. Allen Tugenden von VNND Jungfrauen Nutzlich. Gedruckt zu Mumpelgarten durch Jacob Foillet, 1598. Fuenu Modelbuch von allerhand Kunstlicher Arbeit, namentlich Gestricht, Ausgeschnitt, Geuflit Gesticht, Gewerkt und Genite, von Wollen, Garn, Faden oder Seiden. Auf der Leiden, unsonderlich auf den Rahmen, jetzt erstmals in Tuchland und Taggebracht. Zu Ehren und Gelseeklicker Zeitvertreibung allen Dugensamen Frauen, und Jungfrauen Naschereinen, auch allen andern, so las zu solcher Kunstlicher Arbeit haben sehr dienstlich. Gedruckt zu Basel. In Verlegung Ludwig Niggs, MDX 6. Small Abel, 33 ff, 32 plates. Frontispiece border of point coupé. Title in Gothic red and black. Patterns mostly borders, number of stitches given, mit xxxxv. Benjamin, etc. End dieses Modelbuchs. Bale Prairie contenant divers characters, et different sorties de letters alphabetiques, escavoir letters romaines, de formes, letters pour appliquer sur le reçuel aux lassies, et otters pour marquer sur toile et linges, par pier. Le Bay. Paris, 1601. In Fortuabel. Modelbuch in Kupfer Gemacht, Nuremberg bei Mitchell Kuisner, 1601 by J. Sibmacher. News Modelbuch für Kupfer Gemacht, darin in allerhand Art neuen Model von dem Mittel und dick ausgeschnitten Duer, 491 Arbeit, auch andern Kunstlichen Nauwerk zu Gebrachen mit Fluss für Druck verfertigt. Mit Rom. Kais. Maj Trentich Nuremberg 1604. Translation. New Book of Patterns, on copper, in which are copied out all kinds of new patterns for thick and thin materials, to be used also in the making of other artistic needlework. Abel, 4-2, 58 plates carefully engraved upon copper. Title page surrounded by a richly ornamented border, with 2 figures, one sewing, the other at embroidery. Also a second ornamented frontispiece, dedication to Maria Elizabeth, Electress Palatine, dated. Nuremberg, J. Sibmacher, citizen and engraver. Then follow 5 pages of dialogue, given page 6, note 24 and 227. A printed title to the next plate. The following pattern may be worked in several different ways, with a woven seam, a flat, round, or crossed Jew stitch. It is probably meant for cutwork made on thin materials. Then follow 58 leaves of patterns, the greater number of which have the number of rows written over each pattern. PL. 38 with 2 patterns is inscribed, The following patterns are for thick cut work. In the upper pattern, on the first leaf, are the arms of the Palatine, on the second, those of Juliers and Mark. Pretiosa gemma del virtuos don dove si vedono bellissimi, lavori di ponti in aria, redicella, di maglia, I piambini disegnati de Isabella Catania per sol. E di nuovo dati in luz de Lucino, Gargano con alcuni altri bellissimi, lavori nuovamente inventati. Stampata in Venetia ad instantia di Lucino Gargano MDC. See also number 99. Allerhand model zum stricken unnahen. Abel 4-64 plates, no date. A book of models for point coupe and embroidery, published at Padua October 1, 1604 by Pietro Paolo Fazzi. Romano. Skåne News Modelbuch von 500 Skånen Osser Walton, Kunstlichen, so Wall Italianischen, Französischen, 492 Niederländischen, Engelandischen als Tuchen Modeln, Allen Naher, H. Stichern and C. Zunutz. Some of the words are illegible. Liver des Models, Fort Utilitus, Suqui besoignant a Eleskil. At the foot of last page recto is Frankfurt am Main, bei Sigismund Latomus, 1605. Small Abel, 100 plates Fig, 171, and colored title page with figures. Illustration, Fig, 171. Frankfurt on the Main, 1605. In the first plate is an escutcheon with this monogram, Fig, 172, surrounded with embroidery. Illustration, Fig, 172. Monogram. In the Nuremberg copy, it is at p83. Skåne News Modelbuch, von 100 VND Sig Skånen Kunstreichen VND Gerichten Modeln, Tuch VND Welch auf Mancherly Art Konnen Jenny Werden, Als mit Zopfneth, Kreuz VND Judenstich, auch auf Leden zu Worken. Disgleichen von Außerlessenen Zinnigen oder Spitzen. Allen Seidenstickern, Modelworkerin, Natterin, VND Salcher Arbeit Jefflessenen Weibsbildern Sayer Dienstlich, VND zu Andern Mustern, 493 Anlitlich VND Verständig. Frankfurt am Main, in Verlegung Sigismundi Latomi, M.D.C., Roman 7. Small four-tuable, 180 patterns. Sheets 00, the last has only 3 leaves. On the title page are 2 ladies, one working at a pillow, the other at a frame, in the background, other women employed at various works. Another copy dated, Mr. Arnold and Mr. F.S. Ellis. La pratique de l'Aigle, Industrius du Très excellent Myler Matthias Mignarek Anglois, ouvrier fort expert en tout sort de lingerie, osant traces divers compartiments de caras tous, differens en grandeur invention, avec les plus exquises bordures, dis scenes d'ordonnances qui si soyant vu jusques, si jurdhu tant poétiques historiques. Quautres ouvrages de point de rebord. Ensemble les nouvelles inventions francaises pour ce qui est, de devotion et contemplation. A la tres Christian, Roin de France et de Navarre. Avec privilege 1605 du Roy. A Paris par Jean Leclerc, Rue Saint-Jean de Latran, à la Salamander Royal. Extract from Discours du Lassus. Si chef d'œuvre divin en est, pas l'adventure mais par art compassé, par nombre, et par mesure il commence par un, et va multipliant le nombre de ses trus quan noad va reliant. Sans perder aucunement des nombres d'intresut, quassa, et decroissant d'une mesmi conduit, et ainsi quil commence il ache par un du monde le principe et le terme commune. Si elle en vue sans failure cet ouvrage parfaire, il faut multiplier a jouster et soustraire, il faut bien promptement assembler, et partir, qui vute un beau lassus inégal compartir. Mais si pute il trouver, sous la vout azure chose plus justment en tous sens mesure, ouvrage o il y8 tant de proportions de figures, de traits et de dimensions. Dun point premièrement une ligne l'entire, puis le filet courbé un cercle va descrire, et du cercle noé si trouve le quarré pour lequel retriever tant de sprits enterré. De 6 males si faked une figure égale de 3 costas escox, pour forme pyramidal, et l'ouvrage croissant, sn forme promptement, 494 une otter don't lest du sant egox sulement. Si l'entire un des coings, si forme une figure. Dun triangle en tout sens, d'inégale measure. Le moule plus terre faked les angles pointas, et l'ouvrage estendu faked les angles obtus. De males à la fin un beau quarré si faked, compassé de quarres, tout égal, et parfait quarré qui toutefois si forme variable, or en losange, et or en figure de table. La bande de lasses recouvert, et nos uist comme un beau portrait de l'écharpe, desia don't chaque endroidouvre nous represent unseen le milieu. Les degrés de l'écliptique ligne le courrier, des verdus le symbole, et signal de science du livre et bonnet doctoral. Nous va representant l'église et la justice. La façon de lacer figure l'exercice den filer une bague, en bien l'art d'escrimer. Le lasses recouvert cert de filet aux dames pour les hommes surprendre, et en lacer leurs aimes els enfants collets, coiffures, et mauquires, des tentures de lits, tailles, pig noirs. Et maint otter ornament don't els les enlacent, c'est pourquoi, en lacant les femmes nisi lacent. In 4-76 ff, 72 plates. Frontispiece, 2 ladies with frames in their hands, labeled Diana and Pallas. On the top, an escutcheon per pale France and Medicis supported by cupids. Beneath, cupids with distaff and winding reels. Between the sides of a pair of scissors is a cushion on which is extended a piece of lasses, a marguerite in progress. See Fig. 6. Above, Petrus Firen's Fesset, I Leclerc excud. Below, a Paris par Jean Leclerc Rue Saint-Jean de Latran à la Salamander Royale. Dedication of Jean Leclerc, à la Royne, then Marie de Medicis, stating, Je avoir recouvre d'un personnage anglois très expert en tout sort de lingerie. But who this Myler Mignorac may be, history tells not. Then follows the Discours du Lassus, a poem, of which we give an extract. The privilege is signed Og. 2, 1605. The patterns consist of the Queen's arms and cipher, 4 scripture subjects, Adam and Eve, the Annunciation, Ex Homo and Magdalene, 4 elements, 4 seasons, Roman charity, Lucretia, Venus and Pluie d'Or, arbres à fruit, 6 pots à fleurs, 30 carrés grands, moyens et petits, 6 borgers, and what is quite a novelty, 6 passements fates au fuseau. See Fig. 13. The first mention of pillow lace in any of the French pattern books. Les secondes œuvres, et subtils inventions de lingerie du Seigneur Frédéric de Vinciolo Venetian, nouvellement augmenté de plusieurs carats de point de rebord. Dédié à Madame, Soeur Unique du Roy. Au sont representis plusieurs figures de Rousseau, nombres de carats et borgers tous différents, le tout de point compté, avec autres sorties de carats de nouvelles inventions, non encore vues. 495 A Paris. Par Jean Leclerc, Rue Saint-Jean de Latran, à la Salamander, 1613, avec privilege du Roy. A scarce and valuable volume, the fullest edition of the second part of Vinciolo's work to 68 ff, 61 plates. It contains a sonnet aux dames and demoiselles. Esprits rarement beaux qui faites la paresse, je vous fais un présent qui la pour chasser, quand vous désirez de gaiement, passer vostre temps, et monstre de vostre main l'adresse. Le présent est, utile et plein de gentillesse il, monstre les moyens de bien entrelacer. Et faire au point coupé tout si quan put penser, si t exercise playest à Pallas la dies. Parses enseignements, avec ls galant fate des fleurons, des oiseaux, en ouvrage parfait des chiffres et des nodes, tels que l'amour desire. Imes si t exercise, et vous y occupez, et puis vous cognistres, que sur les points coupes en diverses facons quelques portraits si tire. The author's address to the reader, and a dedication to Madame, Soeur Unique du Roy, Catherine de Bourbon, sister of Henry Roman IV, married 1599 to the Duc de Bar, signed by Leclerc. On the second plates are her arms, a lozenge, France and Navarre with crown and cordeliere, and the same lozenge also surmounts the decorated frontispiece, supported on either side by a genius, working at a frame and point coupé drapery. Scripture subjects, the Salutation, Saint Sacrament, Passion, Crucifixion, Adoration of the Kings, etc., the number of the stitches given to each. Stomachers and various patterns of carrés and borders. 2 of point de rebord. At the end is the Discours du Lassus, already printed by Mignorac. Titro del Nobili et Virtuos Don. Dov si representano, varage disegni di lavori novamente inventati, et disegnati de Elisabetta Catania, Persol Romana. Dedicata alla Serenissima Principessa Donna Elisabetta Borbona di Austria, Principessa di Spagna, de Isi Persol. Data di Roma di 5 Marzo 1616. Other editions, 1620, 1625, and 1636. The last is dedicated to the Grand Duchess of 496 Tuscany and has the Medici and Della Rover arms in the title page. Abel 4 to 47 ff. 46 plates, 44 in Prince Massimo's copy, beautifully executed, the titles printed to each plate, as Lavori di Punti in area, Merletti di Ponti Redicella, Merletti a Piombini, etc. See Fig. Pretiosa gem del virtuos don dorsi vedono bellissimi, Lavori di Ponto in aria, Redicella, de maglia e Piombini disegnati de Isabella Catania per sol. E di nuovo dati in luz de Lucino Gargano, con alcuni altri bellissimi, lavori nuovamente inventate. Stampata in Venetia ad instantia de Lucino Gargano, MDC. Gemma pretiosa del virtuos don, dorsi vedono bellissimi lavori de Ponti in aria, Redicella, di maglia, e Piombini disegnatida Isabella Catania per sol. In Rome, Apriso Guligno Faxiati, 1625. Zieret Butch, von Allerhand Kutschner, Schleyer Deckel, Kragen Leibgürtel, Passment, Handschug, Weijehang und Schubenehen, Messerschitten, Säcklin, Fruchten, Blumen und Ans. Mayer. Allen Perlenbeftern, Netterin, Leringen und Andern Welch Lust zu dieser Kunst tragen, Sayer Nutzlich. In dies Format, zusammen ordiniert und gesetzt durch Daniel Mayer Malern. One Sturthale. Frankfurt am Main, bei Eberhard Kusern zu finden. FF, 9 plates. Translation. Decoration book of all sorts of cords, veil covers, collars, belts, laces, gloves, shoulder knots, shoe seams, knife sheaths, bags, fruit, flowers, and other things besides. Very useful to all beadworkers, seamstresses, apprentices, and others who take a pleasure or are fond of this art. Arranged and put into this form by D.M. MSD Part. Nu Modelbstdarenen allerlei Kunstlich Verserung Unmuster Artiger Z, Unskoner BLM Men zu Ziellichen Überschligen, Hauptshirts Schimtutchern haben Handschuhen, Uhren, Jehensen, Kampfutern und die Dergleichen auf Müller Not und Sedensker Arbeit ganz Kunstlich Gemalt, 497 und Vorderissen, Dergleichen sei Bevorn nach nahe in Druck Ostgegangen. 16 Leipzig 19. In Verlegen Henning Grosseren, de Jaren Andreas Brechnader Mahler. Translation. New pattern book, in which all sorts of artistic ornamentations and patterns of pretty stuffs and beautiful flowers for covers for head, aprons and pocket handkerchiefs, caps, gloves, clock cases, comb cases, and such like, artistically sketched from painter and silk embroiderer's work, and which have never before gone out of print. Small folio, 53 plates and half a sheet of text, containing the dedication of the work to Madame Catherine von Dorstadt's, née Loser. There appear to be 3 plates wanting. A Skoll House for the Needle, 1624. Abel 42, was sold at the White Night sale for £3.15. Corona del Nobili et Virtuos Don. Libro Terzo. Nel quale si dimostra in varia disegni tut la sorti di mostra di punti tagliati e punti in area, punti fiamengi, punti a ricello, ed on altra sort, cosi per freghi, per merli e rosette, chicon acosi viano higiti per lutta Europa. E molt del quali moster porsono serviri ancora per opera mazit. Con la dichiarazione alla moster a lavori fatti della Grecia Romana. In Venetia, Appresso Alessandro de Vecchi, 1620. FF, Abel 8 vo. Corona del Nobili et Virtuos Don, Libro Primo, nel quale si dimostra in varage disegni tut la sorti di mostra di punti tagliati. Punti in area, punti fiamengi, punti a reticolo, ed ogni alter sort, cosi per freghi, per merli, e rosette, chicon el acosi usano per tutta Europa. E molt del quali moster possono servere ancora per opera mazit. Con la dichiarazione alla moster, a lavori fatti della Grecia Romana. In Venetia, Appresso Alessandro de Vecchi MDCXXV. Si vendono in Venetia, al Pont de Barateri alla Libreria del Tre Rose. Lady Wilton, in her Art of Needlework, quotes a copy dated 1620. Abel 42 FF, 27, Portrait of Maria d'Aragon. 498 107. Ornamento nobile per ogni gentle matrona, dovsi contian bavari, frissi di infinita bellezza, lavori per linzuali, traverse e factuali, piena di figure, nymph, satiri, groch, fontaine, music, caxi di servi excelli, ed altri animali. Con ponti in aria fiamengi et tagliati, con adornamenti bellissimi, d'imperer, per ogni virtuosa donna, ci si diletta di perfidament cuser. Opera per pittori, scultori, e disegnatori giovol alle lor professioni, fatta de Lucretia Romana, Il Quinto Volume 501 Su Lavori. Dedicato alle virtuos don, in Venetia. Fall 20 plates. Frontispiece in point coupe frame. A woman in classic attire is represented under a Doric porch, standing on a tortoise, symbol of a home-loving woman. See number 77. She holds a ball of thread in her hand. Behind, on the left, are two women at work. On the right, a sculptor chiseling a statue of Minerva. The plates, which are rich and beautiful, are each accompanied by a short explanation, as dignata esser portata da ogni imperatrice. Hopra bellissima ci per il più il signora duchessa, et alter signor si servano per li su lavori. Questa bellissima rosette usano acco la gentil don Venetian de far traverse, etc. Fig. 173. The Bavari are executed in 3 different stitches, punto di aeri, p. Flamingo, and p. tagliato. This author and Veselio give Flemish patterns, punti fiamengi. They consist mostly of rosettes and stars gotico. Les excellents echantillons, patrons et modèles du Seigneur Frédéric de Vincilo Venetian, pour apprendre à faire toutes sortes d'ouvrages de lingerie, de pointe coupée, grands et petits passements à jour, et dentelles exquises. Dedies à la Roine, à Paris. Chez la Veuve Jean Leclerc, Rue Sainte-Jean de Latran, à la Salamander Royale. Avec privilege du Roi, 1623. In 4-2, 56 ff. The old frontispiece and same advertisement. Dedication to the Queen, Anne of Austria. The goddess Pallas invented les ouvrages de lingerie, le point coupé, les grands and petits passements à jour, toutes sortes de dentelles, tant pour si dissenir quasi parer, par l'artifice de ses ingenieuses mains. Ersene si adana, and bien quinferiura si voulent comparer à elle and en venir à elle experience, my sa presomption fut chastier. Many illustrious ladies have delighted in this honest exercise. Fastrade and Constance, wives of the Emperor Charlemagne and of King Robert, exemplarant de set manufacture, and Deleurs ouvrages ornerant les églises and les autels. This royal mestier has reached perfection through the works of Vinciolo. I reprint and again increase his work, which I dedicate to your majesty, to whom I presume they will be agreeable. The subject of which it treats is une invention de dix and une occupation de roin vous, estant autant roin des vertus que vous elles de du royaumes. Signed, La Veuve de Feu Ian Leclerc. Same sonnet. Privilege for 6 years, dated Paris, last day of March, 1623. FF. 58 plates, 24 ouvrages de point coupé, and 8 of passements au fuseau, C figs, 14 and 15, and alphabet. Illustration, Fig. 173. Bavaro di ponto di air, con bellissime figure ed altri flori. Bavari, from Ornamento Mobile of Lucretia Romana. To face page 498. 499-109. A scroll house for the needle. Teaching by sundry sorties of patterns and examples of different kinds, how to compose many fair works, which being set in order and form according to the skill and understanding of the workwoman will, no doubt, yield profit unto such as live by the needle, and give good content to adorn the worthy. London printed in Shoe Lane at the Falcon by Richard Shorlicker, 1632. To the reader. Gentle reader, I would have you know that the diversities of examples which you shall find in this schoolhouse for the needle are only but patterns which serve but to help and enlarge your invention, but for the disposing of them into form and order of works that I leave to your own skill and understanding, whose ingenious and well-practiced wits will so readily, I doubt not, compose them into such beautiful forms as will be able to give content, both to the workers and the wearers of them. And again for your behoof, I have in the end of this book made 2 scales or checker patterns, which by enlarging or contracting into greater or lesser squares, you may enlarge or make lesser any of the said patterns and examples in the book, or any other whatever. Veil. And because I would not have anyone mistaken in any of these patterns contained in this book, for some peradventure will look to find works set out in order as they should be wrought with the needle or flourished upon the tent, and see, but as I have said before in the beginning of this book, that is here published are only but diversity of patterns, out of which the workwoman is to take her choice of one or more at her pleasure, and so have them drawn out into form and order of work. Of which skill, if it may be, I would have serving men, such as have time enough, to practice and be skillful in which will be quickly learned if they would, with a little patience apply their minds to practice it. A quarter of the time that they spend in playing at cards, tables, quaffing and drinking would make them excellent in this knowledge, especially such as are ingenious and endued with good wits, as for the most part all of them have. Agging it is a thing that no doubt would yield them both praise and profit, beside the pleasure and delight it would be unto them, and a good inducement to draw on others of their own rank and quality to the like practice and imitation. Here followeth certain patterns of cutworks, and but once printed before. Also sundry sorts of spots, as flowers, birds, and fishes, and sea, and will fitly serve to be wrought, some 500 with good, some with silk, and some with jewel sick, or otherwise at your pleasure. London, pinted sick in Shoe Lane at the scene of the Falcon by Richard Shorlicker, 1632. Abel, 4-2. The copy in the Bodleian is probably due to the above. It has no date and varies in title, newly invented and never published before, with Cruel in Cowlers, etc., and never but once published before. Printed by Rich Shorlicker. Patterns and title. The Needle's Excellency, a new book wherein are divers admirable works wrought with the needle. Newly invented and cut in copper for the pleasure and profit of the industrious. Printed for James Bowler, and c. 1640. Beneath this title is a neat engraving of 3 ladies in a flower garden, under the names of Wisdom, Industry, and Folly. Prefixed to the patterns are sundry poems in a commendation of the needle, and describing the characters of ladies who have been eminent for their skill in needlework, among whom are Queen Elizabeth and the Countess of Pembroke. These poems were composed by John Taylor, the water poet. It appears the work had gone through 12 impressions. From the costume of a lady and gentleman in one of the patterns, it appears to have been originally published in the reign of James I. Dowse. From this description of the frontispiece, it seems to be copied from Sibmacher. The Needle's Excellency, or a New Book of Patterns with a poem by John Taylor in praise of the needle. London, 1640. Abel, 4 to engraved title and 28 plates of patterns. Sold, 1771, £6.17, 6d. Loans, Bibliographer's Manual. New edit, by H. Bone. Another copy of the same date, marked 12th edition, is in the Library of King's College, Cambridge. It consists of title, 4 leaves with the poem, subscribed John Taylor, and 31 leaves of copper cuts of patterns. Le Pompe di Minerva, per le nobili virtuos d'Anchicon industriosum monoditratner si del tono di far res, maglia quadra, punti in aria, punti intagliati, punti a reticolo, cosi per fregio cum per merleti I rosette di vari sorti. Si cum agiti con elaco di lavora usati per tutto l'Europa, arrichet di bellissimi et vaghi intagli cavati de più celebriati di tal profession. In Pistoia, per Piero e Fortunato. In 8 Vo Abel, dedicated to Caterina Geraldini in Celici, August 20. 501-113. Das nu Modelbuch von Skonen Natterrein, Leidenswerk und Soderlines Arbeit. Ander Thale, Nürnberg, bei Paulus Fürsten Kunsthandler. Abel, 4-2, 3 sheets of text, 50 plates. Dedicated to the Princess Rosina Helena, Nürnberg, March 20. In the bib, Imp. Gravures LH4. C is a volume lettered Gepure Gravures Buren, containing a collection of patterns engraved on copper, 43 plates, 4 of which are double, pasted in the book without title or date. Pomegranates, narcissus, lilies, carnations, most of them labeled Kreuzstich, Franciscan stick, and Fadendjurk, threadwork, the number of stitches given, with clocks, Zwickel of stockings, and other patterns. Model Butch, Dritter Thale von Unterskidlicker Vogeln, Blumen und Früchten and CTE. Von und in Verlegung Rosina Helena Furten. Nürnberg, Christoph Gerhardt's, 1676 to Abel. Engraved title and printed list, 42 wood plates, 4 large. Méthode pour faire une infinité de dessins différents, avec des caro my parties de couleurs, par une ligne diagonale aux observations du Père Dominique Donat. Religia Carme de la Province de Toulouse sur une mémoire insérée, dans l'histoire de l'Académie Royale des Sciences à Paris, LNA 1704, présenté par le Reverend Pierre Sébastien Truchet. Paris, 1722. Geometric squares, with directions how to make them useful to architects, painters, embroiderers, tous ceux qui se servent de l'Egel, and others. Newsnetta und Strickbuch für des Geschlecht, Warren allerhand Zeerathan, y och veel Newswickel, nebst Buchstaben und Zahlen, soll zum Nehen als stricken in Zeelichen Nissen und Mustern befeindlich sind. Mit vielen Kupfertafeln. Nürnberg und Leipzig, der Christoph Weigel und Schneider. 1784. 500–118. Continuation der Kunst und Flessübenden Nadelergetzung, oder des nu Ursanen besonder Nehbuchs dritter Theil, Warnen Flessige Liebhaberinnen dieser Nothig und Nützlichen Wissenschaft, Eiher Kunstliches Nadelexercitium, Beige und Terskidlich Vorfelenden Belegenheiten zu haben allerhand nach Neivorgikon Muster zu deso Gebrach, Vorlegt und die Hand Jejeben Werden von Erfahr. Margaretha Hellman, zu finden in Nürnberg Bejo. Christoph Weigel. Nürnberg. No date. Ablangfall. Zierlich Webend Minerva, oder nu Erfendienst Kunst und Bildbuch der Weber und Zeichnerarbeit, Warnen true Anweisung Jeskiet, wie man kunstlich Worken und Skone Arbeit verfertigen soll, von der Wirtschaftigen en, bis auf zwei und 30 Schaftig. Nürnberg, Johann Christoph Weigel. No date, plates in sheets. 503 Glossary of Terms. Bars, see brides. Bead edge, a simple heading for pillow lace. Bobbins, small elongated wooden or bone reels on which the thread is wound for the purpose of lace making. They are frequently ornamented with patterns pricked or stained and polished. They are weighted with jingles or jingles, i.e., beads, coins, seals, seeds, or various articles. Brides, a small strip or connection, one of threads overcast with buttonhole stitches, or two of twisted or plaited threads. It is used instead of a groundwork of net. The word is French, its English equivalent being pearl tie. The French word is chiefly employed. Brides ornés equals brides ornamented with picots, loops, or pearls. Buttonhole stitch, one of the chief stitches in needle-made lace, also known as close stitch, point noe, and punto a festin. Cardisane, a strip of parchment or vellum covered with silk or gold or metal thread, used to form a pattern. Close stitch equals buttonhole stitch. Cordonnet, the outline to ornamental forms. The cordonnet consists, 1, of a single thread, or 2, of several threads worked together to give the appearance of one large thread, or 3 of a thread or horsehair overcast with buttonhole stitches. In England called gimp. Courons, ornaments to the cordonnet. When they ornament the raised cordonnet in the body of the pattern, they are known as fleurs volants. Coxcombs equals bars. Dentelle equals scalloped border. Droschel, Flemish word used in Belgium for net ground made with bobbins. Dressed pillow, a term used by bobbin lace makers to intimate that all accessories necessary are in their proper positions. 504 edge. There are 2 edges to lace. The outer, which in trimmings and flounces is either scalloped or ornamented with picots, and the engrailure or footing. Engrailure equals footing or heading of a lace, used to sew the lace onto the material it is to decorate. Entoilage, French term for a plain mesh ground or galloon. Fil de crin, a thick or heavy outline or cordonnet. Fil de trace, the name by which the outlines of needle-made laces are distinguished. Fillings, a word occasionally used for modes or jours, fancy stitches employed to fill in enclosed spaces in needle-made and bobbin laces. Flax is composed of the filaments of the fibrous portion of Linum usitatissimum, an annual native of Europe, and from it linen thread is spun. That of Flanders is the best for lace making. Fleurs volants, see courons. Fond, identical with champ, entoilage, and tray. The groundwork of needlepoint or bobbin, lace is distinct from the toile or pattern which it surrounds and supports. Grounds are divided into fonds clairs, brides clairs, and brides ornés. The fond clairs include the réseau or net-patterned grounds. Fond de neige is also known as oil de perdrix. Fond simple, sometimes called point de Lille, is the purest, lightest, and most transparent of all grounds. The sides of the meshes are not partly plaited as in Brussels and Mechlin, nor wholly plaited as in Valenciennes and Chioggia, but 4 of the sides are formed by twisting 2 threads round each other, and the remaining 2 sides by simply crossing of the threads over each other. Footing, see engrailure. Gimp, the pattern which rests on the ground or is held together by brides. The work should not, however, be confounded with the material gimp, which was formerly called guipure. In Honiton and the Midlands, the word denotes the coarse glazed thread used to raise certain edges of the design. Jingles, a name given in Buckinghamshire, etc., to the bunches of colored beads hung onto bobbins by means of brass wire, in order to give extra weight and so increase the tension of the threads. 505 grappo, a knot or tie. Grounds. The grounds of laces are divided into two classes, one being called the bride, the other the raso. The bride ground is formed with plain or ornamental bars in order to connect the ornaments forming the pattern. The raso ground is a net made with the needle or with bobbins to connect the ornaments forming the pattern. Guipure, a lace-like trimming of twisted threads. The word is now used to loosely describe many laces of coarse pattern. Guipure dart is the name given to modern darned netting. Heading equals footing and grêlure. Jours, ornamental devices occurring in various parts of a piece of lace. The earliest forms of jours may be seen in Venetian point lace, where they are introduced into the center of a flower or other such device. Legs equals bars. Mat or math, the closely plaited portions of flowers or leaves in bobbin-made lace, also the closely worked portion of any lace. Modes see jours. Oil de perdrix see fond. Orris, a corruption of heiress. The term is now used to denote galloon for upholstering purposes. In the 18th century, it was applied to laces of gold and silver. Passment. Until the 17th century, laces, bands, and gimps were called passements à l'aigle, bobbin laces, passements au fuseau. At present, the word denotes the pricked pattern on parchment upon which both needlepoint and bobbin laces are worked. Passementerie, now used for all kinds of fringes, ribbons, and gimp for dress trimmings. Pearls or pearls equals bars. Pearl edge or pearl edge, a narrow thread edge of projecting loops used to sew upon lace as a finish to the edge. Purlin or purling lace. Picot, minute loops worked onto the edge of a bride or cordonnet, or added as an enrichment to a floweress in the case of rose point, in which picots play an important part. 506 billow lace, lace made on the pillow by twisting and plaiting threads. The French term is dentelle au fuseau. Pizzo lace. Ply equals a single untwisted thread. Point lace, lace made with the point of the needle. The French term is point à l'aigle. The term point has been misused to describe varieties of lace, such as point d'Angleterre, point de Malines, etc., which are laces made on the pillow and not with the point of the needle. Point de racroc, a stitch used by lace makers to join raso ground. Point noué equals buttonhole stitch. Point plait, a French term for flat point, executed without a raised cordonnet or outline cord. Pricked, the term used in pillow, lace making to denote the special marking out of the pattern upon parchment. Pricker, a short instrument used in bobbin lace to prick holes in the pattern to receive the pins. Punto of festin equals buttonhole stitch. Pearls equals brides. Purlings equals a stitch used in Honiton guipure to unite the bobbin-made sprigs. Raso, ground of small regular meshes made on the pillow in various manners, and made by the point of the needle in fewer and less elaborate manners. The French term, as here given, is generally used in preference to any English equivalent. Raso rossicé, see Argentella ch, Argentin. Ruissage, the process of steeping the flax preparatory to its being spun for lace making. Risail risuel, see Lassus, chapter Roman 2. Runners, the name by which the bobbins which work across a pattern in bobbin lace are known. Sam cloth, old name for a sampler,